there too?
She's out of the office right now, but she'll be in here shortly.
Okay, just let me know when she gets in, and then I think we'll
We'll get her.
Okay, we're all set. John, I'm recording. I'm gonna go on mute. If you need me, just holler.
Appreciate it, Randy.
Should come sit in my office. I always need help.
Do we have 2 minutes before we start, John?
Sure.
Do we have 2 minutes?
Yep.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, you can share your screen too, John, if you need to.
Does anyone need me to put the agenda on the screen, or does everyone have a copy of the packet in front of them?
I've got a
We all
copy.
have them here.
Okay. All right, then we won't worry about that. But thanks, Randy.
Gary is, he's called in. No, he's in his office. He's on the call though. We're on the meeting. Yeah. I just saw him. Pam, maybe you want to sit over here or so we're 6 feet apart. Yeah.
Mark, will Dan be joining us today, or is he on vacation?
Dan is also here. So we have Pam, Dan, myself, staff present, and then we have Mickey and Harold here.
Perfect. All right, so we're just waiting for Mickey to get back.
She just ran out to her car for a second.
Okay.
This is Gary. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I was trying to speak, but it seemed like nobody could hear me. I'm trying to figure this out anyway.
Yeah, you were probably muted to start, Gary.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing everybody on screen, but I called in on the phone because I don't have a camera or microphone on my computer, so I can see you guys. You can't see me, but I can talk to you over the phone. So that's the extent of my technology.
So you can see us wrinkling our noses at you, but we can't see how you're reacting to what we say.
Yeah, so you guys got the better end of the deal. You can't see me, so that's the best part.
All right.
John,
I see.
I just had a question. As a follow-up to the joint meeting yesterday, and I don't know if Mark or Mike's spoken to you, but I was just curious as to what the planned start date was for the new rate.
Yeah, Mark and I did talk about it after the city commission meeting last night, and the first thing we were going to do is see when the last rate was implemented, and if we stay on that schedule and everyone's in agreement, then I think that's what we'll do. Otherwise, we'll just have to figure out if it's going to start on the city's fiscal year or the townships, which are a few months apart.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter to me. I just need to know what to tell Christina, our billing clerk, just so that we get it right. So.
Right. Okay. We'll try to look into that today. And
okay. Thank you.
I'll get back with Mark. If it's an email, I'll make sure you're on the list.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. We ready, Mickey?
I think so. I'm just handing out face shields to people so they're more comfortable with that. Thank you. Because it's not funny.
Okay.
Your glasses fog up and you can't see and you're trying to do a meeting.
Thank you.
All right. I've got 10:02 a.m. Let's call this monthly meeting of the Marquette Area Wastewater Treatment Facility Advisory Board to order. It is August 20th. And roll call, please.
Chairman Kangas?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Hayes?
Here.
Ms. Brunner?
Here.
And Gary's here.
Here.
Thank you. Agenda, look for a motion to approve the agenda as presented or any modifications that are requested for consideration.
I move that we approve the agenda with one modification as we add in a line item for my monthly report on PFAS.
Under new business, okay, or old business? That would be
Under
old
new
business.
business is fine.
I guess everything's new with PFAS these days. They're constantly updating. All right, we'll add a quick item B, 6B, PFAS update.
Because it's,
There's nothing to do with the wastewater plant operation.
your friend, this one just came out yesterday, which is all about wastewater operations and looking for PFAS in wastewater. I'm not trying to be silly. When I first started here, I thought PFAS was an interesting chemical reality. And then I started doing searches, and this one popped out just
How many
yesterday.
people?
Sir,
For God's sake.
dear friend, I don't know the answer
Well,
to that
see,
yet.
well, that's what I'd like to know.
This
Why
particular,
are we, I mean, I want to know why we're getting all excited. We don't know what the information.
I'd say the last thing that got me excited about PFAS was they were issuing warnings throughout the state that if you swam in water that had foam on it, to get out of that water because it was dangerous to touch and to come into contact, and that was true for people and animals.
Okay,
And I
so do we
apologize,
have,
I don't have this dramatic 20 people died from PFAS, but just last night, this came out of Eagle. Did everybody
we're
get a
on the
copy of it?
agenda. We're on the agenda right now, Mickey. If it gets added, we can discuss it then. Otherwise, we'll have to move on.
I'll answer your question better, 6B, okay? Thank you. I made a motion to approve the agenda as modified. We're looking for a second.
Is there support for Mickey's motion?
This is Gary. I'll support it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mickey, support by Gary. Any further discussion? It is to approve the amended agenda, which includes item 6B, which is a PFAS update. All right, let's do a roll call on that, please.
Chairman Kangas,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
No,
Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
No.
and Mickey.
Yes.
So the motion carries 3-2 if my count is correct. Is that right, Pam?
Yes, three approved, 2 not.
Okay. And I sense there's a little apprehension about the modification to the agenda. This isn't normal protocol, but I guess in the interest of airing the issue, I'd like to discuss that now. I'm assuming the concern is whether or not the update is specific to what occurs inside the fence. Is that correct?
that's correct on my end.
Yep. That's my concern.
That's Harold's concern also.
Okay, so I guess let's just make sure that, and it sounds like Mickey's point is this one is specific to wastewater. And if, as long as it's pertaining to the treatment of the wastewater within the 3 municipal boundaries, I guess I'm okay with it. And then we'll just have to continue with that protocol unless for some reason the votes change down the road to the point where it's not added for some reason. But I did see Mickey's email. I saw it was pertaining to wastewater. Let's see what she has to say, but we still have a 1 hour window that we'll have to keep it within. So
First
the
of
rest
all,
of the agenda
I
will have.
appreciate that this is new and that it has to struggle for time like everything else, and that everybody's concerns about what happens behind the fence is valid. I promise the group that if it's not behind the fence, it'll be offered to the group in advance for informational purposes only, with no discussion. But this particular one popped out last night. It's dated last month. It's from Eagle: Initiatives to Evaluate the Presence of PFAS in Municipal Wastewater and Associated Residuals, Sludge and Biosludge in Michigan. And municipal wastewater, I believe, is inside the fence. And I know that in the past, we've had discussions in here about looking for PFAS in biosolids. There's an issue of whether we can sell the biosolids or distribute them and have that level of not having to worry about disposing of them. So,
I'm sorry, if I could just interject a little bit. On this report also, the wastewater treatment plant did take part in the study. So Marquette area wastewater plant is part of this study that she's
Okay,
So
sounds good.
I
So-
promise the group, if it's not behind the fence, it'll be offered in advance for information purposes only. But
That
if it's,
sounds reasonable to me, Mickey. And I guess what I would say is if you have any information like that that comes up in the future, if there's any way you can get it to me before the agenda is put together, then we can throw it on there and maybe we won't have as much discussion regarding getting the agenda approved just to talk about it.
I promise you in the future, I will do my regular PFAS search a week in advance of our meeting. I admit, last night I did my regular PFAS search, but I'll do it a week in advance so you have a chance to look at it before any agenda goes out.
Perfect, thank you. All right,
I
On
do
to the-
appreciate everyone's concerns. It's when something's new, you wonder how much time you should spend on it. And I appreciate that.
thanks. Moving
Okay.
on to the meeting minutes of July 2020. Is there a motion to approve or any recommended revisions?
I will
I
make a
move
motion.
that we approve the meeting minutes from last month without change.
We have a
Second
motion.
that.
I'll second it.
Who seconded that? Was that Brad?
Harold did.
Harold?
Yep.
Okay, a motion by Mickey, support by Harold. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Pam.
Chairman Kangas,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Drum,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Simpson.
Yes.
Can I just say real quick that Pam, you and Harold are very hard to hear on my end. I don't know if anybody else is having that issue.
Yeah,
Sure.
Thank you, Brad. I'm having the same issue. I can hear Margaret fine and Mark, but it's hard to hear Pam and Harold.
Yeah.
we're going off our laptop here, so we don't have the best speaker in the world. I'll get Pam to come a little closer. I'll back off.
Don't jeopardize your social distancing, though.
Yes, we are masked up and we have to.
Well, shoot, that's probably why you can't hear me very well.
That's better.
All right, let's move on to the financial report. Mr. Simpson.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to keep this brief. I know John has a hard cutout at 11 and I do as well, and maybe some of the others do. So I'll keep it brief. I have 3 things to report on. The first one is the normal report. Really nothing new to report. Electric power is coming way under budget, which is good because natural gas has gone over budget. Other than that, I don't have anything to report on. Do you have any questions I can entertain? Moving on, actually last night, Mark presented the wastewater treatment plant budget to the city commission, and Mark, you did a very good job. Thank you for that. You were very prepared, so thanks. And I don't recall any specific questions from the commission. And again, I apologize for getting this out to you late, but this has just been an extremely unusual year, as everybody knows. But if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And the last item, which we don't need a motion this meeting, but by the next meeting, we will need a motion so that we can get the new per unit rate for FY21. And the way it's calculated, and I included all the backup sheets on how we calculate it. So it's based on flow-related cost. And then Mark gave me an estimate of what he anticipates for flow for the next year. And using those numbers, it comes out to 1.945 per kgal. So I don't know if you have any questions related to that. If not, if somebody could do a motion today, or we'll just have to remember to do it for the September meeting.
I'll make a motion now to approve the 1.945 per unit rate per kgals for next year's rate.
I second the motion to approve the rate as described.
Okay, we have a motion by Brad and support by Mickey to approve the per unit rate for FY 2021 of 194.5 per kgal. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Chairman Kangas,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Ms. Crum,
Yes.
and Mr. Simpson.
Yes.
All approved.
So, thank you. That concludes my report unless you have any questions. And Brad, I did send you that information yesterday. And again, I apologize for it taking so long. So hopefully it didn't hold you up too much.
No,
But
no, not too bad. No, I'm still ahead of schedule, so we're good. Thank you.
But if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to contact me. Starting tomorrow, my schedule should start calming down a little bit, so I should be able to get to things a lot quicker. So,
Okay, I'll probably give you a call next week.
okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
All right. Anything else, Gary?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
All right, Mark, you want to give us your first shot at the budget?
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably not your first shot, but the first time we will see what went to the commission yesterday, right?
I guess the first thing I was talking about the revenues, just to point out that other revenue, we always take a conservative approach. Already this year, we're over 160,000.
Hey, Mark, we're having a hard time hearing you now.
Okay, it's probably because of my shield. I'll put my mask on. Here we go. Okay, on revenues, just want to point out that other income, we take a conservative approach because those types of revenues could disappear. So we only budgeted 35,000 there, but we have already taken in over 160,000 this year. So that's a good thing. Any questions on revenue? We can move on to operations.
Mark, I'm assuming the truck wastewater is going to continually have a gradual decline as some of these facilities are retired.
Yeah, as they're closing down the BLP, we've taken in quite a bit of revenue the last 2 years from them. That's going to be coming to an end. One of the steady ones we have, and I think it'll continue obviously, is We Energies, the leachate from their landfills. I don't see the prospect of them hauling it anywhere else. So that would be a continuous income. And then the other ones, basically we get our LS&I, Fabic, the old Fabco. Those are pretty much our regular customers, but they could go away too overnight, and they can haul it wherever they want. So like I said, we always take a conservative approach there. Generally, we end up with more income, which helps the budget at the end of the day. Operations report, or operations budget. Go down, you can see big change obviously is purchase power. We were buying before the engines came online, the 2 years prior to that. We spent $254,000 one year and $230,000 electricity cost. We're projecting it's going to be $72,000 next year. An offshoot of that is that natural gas has gone up. We're projecting at $62,000. One component of the biosolids or the solids handling project that we're hoping to do, a component of that would be to increase the biogas production and bring that number down. That's a year down the road. We had an uptick in operating supplies. Our laboratory uses a lot of distilled water, and that still is kind of on its last legs, and I'd like to replace that. So you can see we increased the budget there by $5,000. But other than that, it's pretty standard, what we had last year. No significant changes. Capital outlay, we know our SCADA system here at the plant and our network that provides that information. We're looking to upgrade that. That's getting also older, and it is in need of replacement. Any questions? You can see admin, that's pretty standard charges that we have for the plant. Not a lot of change there.
Except the wages are a lot cheaper. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Well, no, that's based on us. Our wages we budgeted for that position, but we will be saving money. We do have that open position right now, mainly because I got promoted. I don't start off at the top step. I'm at the bottom step. So there's like a 5-year sequence of increases. So that's where that savings is coming from in the admin portion. But no, we did budget for that position, but the position as of now is approved. But we're just holding off on filling it until we get a better idea of the situation.
Okay.
And that's citywide, we're doing that. That's pretty much the high points of the budget. Unless there's any questions, I think we can move on.
Any questions?
Good.
Thanks, Mark. Operations.
One last thing on the budget, I'd really like to thank Gary for all his help. I probably would have never got through it without his help. So him and his staff do a tremendous job. It's a lot of work. I appreciate the help. Dan, you want to cover operations? Or?
Yep, go for it.
Go ahead. Can you hear him?
No.
Okay, I'll do it, Dan. Okay, permit compliance. We did have 2 violations last month for DO, daily DO. We run into this, so you guys are well aware of in the springtime when the water level gets high, we lose that cascade effect. We also have a problem in the fall, late summer actually, when the water temperature rises, it doesn't hold the oxygen as well. And as a result of our solids handling here at the treatment plant, that extra loading was enough to bring the DO down, and there's nothing that we could basically do to fix that. I'm hoping if we go forward with the solids handling project, that we can add as a component of that, or a side component of that, some aeration back there, so we actually have a mechanical means of preventing those violations. Eagle was contacted. I let them know what was going on.
So Mark, if we're able to incorporate that into this project, is there a way to monitor the dissolved oxygen so that it's automatic, or do you have to just stay on top of your sampling?
We could go that far. I don't think we would need that. I think we're required to take 1 sample a day, and that's what determines whether we meet that requirement or not. We do control the aeration in the basins to save power, obviously. I don't know if we need to go that far, the end of the plant. I'll have to have some discussions with the engineer on that.
Sure. Okay. Just curious.
Yeah, Harold's was asking a question, how we would go about that. And basically, we already have an air line near the area. We would just have to tap into that, run it out to our contact tanks, and put some aerators in there. And that should be enough to get us over keep us in compliance. Similar to that, I can take you outside and show you. It'd be the same aerators basically we use in our aeration tanks.
Okay.
That's how we keep the bugs alive and their oxygen demand.
So that would be just a simple ball valve type operation. It's on or it's off then.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much, we're pretty consistent. I think right now, and I haven't looked at the lab data in the last week or so, but I would say right now our DO is pretty stable around 5. And our limit is 4.5. The problem we have is if we run our press, or if we're decanting off one of our storage tanks because we need the room, all that loading that comes in and the bugs are using it up, that pass through, we'll notice the DO go down. And on those 2 days, it was below 4.5. We ran there's a bleed valve off the airline that goes to our WAS tank, waste activated tank. We did run basically a garden hose almost to our contact tank, but the head pressure was too much. Yep. For that small of a line, obviously we need a bigger line. Yeah, we have it going right now in our trough to add a little extra oxygen. Yeah. We have a sampling port that we're required to take up. Yeah. There's a, well, okay, so our contact tank is what, 8-10 feet deep, somewhere around there. It goes over a weir and cascades into what we call a trough, and that trough is probably 3 feet deep. So the way we have it set up now, our little experiment, we're able to add oxygen there. We took it and we sunk that aerator into the contact tank, and it was working beautiful until it got down 5 feet or so, and then it just stopped working. It wasn't able to overcome the head pressure. So that's where that experiment ended. Yeah, but the line supplying the WAS tank is big. Bigger line, yes. Yep. I think it's a relatively simple, well, I say simple, straightforward fix. Right. Okay. We're still taking COVID samples and sending them to Michigan State. And I asked them for an update for this meeting, and they haven't got a report. They've been running the tests, but she doesn't have a report for me. So as soon as I get that, I'll pass that along. We're also taking samples from Michigan Tech for their study. When I went to move up my daughter up there, I hauled a bunch of samples up there for them. And now the state is looking at putting some money out there, and Northern is looking at putting their own laboratory in. And I volunteered us to supply wastewater samples, not only here at the plant, but they're also interested in taking some samples from our lift stations. So
last time we talked about this, I requested that we consider getting some public relations out of this. The scientists at Michigan Tech has published preliminary data from the first round of sampling. In other words, it's not a secret anymore that they're doing this in the Upper Peninsula. And what I would recommend the board consider at the appropriate time is doing some sort of Zoom meeting with the scientists at Michigan Tech, at Northern, and at Michigan State to let the public know that we have the capability of looking for this virus, and that we can do it locally, and that we found or did not find, as the case may be, the virus. Because I've been paying attention to this type of sampling, and it's like there's so many people working in the lab on the virus, and there's so many people working on the vaccine. But this type of wastewater analysis is considered top level for looking for it in wastewater. And I repeat my recommendation that the board consider doing this as soon as we have something to share with the public.
Yeah.
Just to let them know we're on top of it.
for certain, yeah, that would be fine with me. But like I said, I'd like to wait until we actually get some sort of data. And we haven't gotten very much data, so. We're back. Well, we're down one position, obviously, with Dan's promotion. That position's going to be open probably till January, depending on how things go. I will be talking to Mike about that. And we did have a operator out on a medical leave, and he is back. We took down our number 3 digester. We held out 520,000 gallons of liquid biosolids out to Magnum Road area. That we had a farmer out there that wanted some fertilizer. That went really well. During the process of taking that down, the contractor noticed that our gas line in there was compromised. Some of the brackets that support it were broke, missing. So we had a contractor come in the next day and fix that up for us. Okay, so we're back in the process of refilling the digester. We cannot run the engines on biogas until we get that full sealed up, and then we can turn that system back on. So as of right now, both engines are running on natural gas. Industrial wastewater revenue last month was $14,000. And like I said, I just billed out for MDOT. They were bringing us their storm sewer clean out from their Vector for the last really 2 months. And I just decided to wait to bill it out. That bill is going to be over $20,000. So I'll show up next month. So we're just plugging away as far as staffing from the whole COVID and the furlough. Summertime, people have a lot of time they got to burn before October 1st. So we're a little bit behind on the preventative maintenance, but we're hitting it as hard as we can when we can. Any questions?
The grease trap inspection, I assume, is being held in abeyance because most of the restaurants are operating.
Yeah, and the employee that does the grease trap inspections was on medical leave. So for right now, our focus is on catching up on maintenance and the backlog we have here.
Meant to
But
ask,
we will be getting out on the grease traps.
I've noticed a lot more food trucks in the area. When you do get back to grease trap inspection, you're gonna hit the food trucks, right?
I don't technically know if we can, because our ordinance only references if it's actually going into a sewer. Where those trucks go and remove the grease, I have no idea.
There's a truck now in the parking lot where Valley's used to be in
Yep.
Third Street, and it's pretty, I want to say it's there every day, but I would encourage a follow-up and find out what they're doing with that.
Yeah, that's a
because
good question.
as the brick and mortar restaurants have had to cut back, those food trucks are popping up everywhere.
Right.
Because they always are outdoors.
It would be illegal for them to dispose of. They could. We used to have a food truck in town here that used to come and dump in our Dr. Pads. And it was just additional.
Anyway, I wanted to let people know I've noticed a lot more food trucks.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for operations report. Unless we have any other comments.
Hearing none, I suggest we move on to the solids handling project.
Okay, the solids handling project, the draft report came out for the SRF project that we had submitted funding for to fund this project. And we did make the draft list for a low interest loan. It's a 20-year loan, and the interest rate this year is going to be 1.87. The good news is the green project reserve, we made that list also. The unfortunate thing is, I was hoping for 20% forgiveness, maybe 40%. It's been as high as that. This year, the way the project turned out, it's 5% forgiveness. So that's still $283,000, $283,500 in principal forgiveness. That could change. That number could go up because they've held some money back just in case some of these projects go over. Is what I was on a Zoom call this morning on that. And we are going to write a letter. I don't want to say contesting it, but basically saying that it should be higher. Where it goes, I don't know. So
Well, it's
that's where. I'm sorry.
Probably pretty tough getting much extra out of state programs given the current financial issues.
Yeah, well, the way Eagle sets this up, they have a lot of latitude, and they put a lot more money into the disadvantaged communities. So the communities on there are like Great Lakes Water, Detroit Sewer System, Flint, Sheboygan. There's some pretty pretty high prices there. So they took up a large chunk of that pool.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is all of the funding coming out right now is going to those same places,
Right.
unfortunately.
So that's where we are right now. I've been focused on the budget and some other projects that I was responsible for. So I'm hoping in the next week, actually not this next week because I'm going to be on vacation, but the first week of September really is starting to really get into getting everything ready for the next board meeting and coming to you guys looking to move forward the next step of this project, which would be to get Donahue on board to do a detailed design and then come up with bid specs, bid the project out, and then we would have to come back, obviously, to the board and the commission and go from there.
So, Mark, were you able to get enough reviews of the qualifications?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And I submitted that to Eagle, so we were good there. I have all the documentation. Harold had a question. Well, okay, this project, like I've said in the past, started out, we have a need for storage. We're supposed to have 180-day storage. We don't have enough. And it's a challenge for us, and it causes us violations occasionally. And it makes operating the plant pretty difficult in the springtime. So that was our first focus was, okay, we need to add some more storage. We looked at it, and we were proposing more cake storage, a few other things, and it was going to come in around $2.5–3 million. Once we have the new engines, that was brought along. There's a need in the area for septage receiving, so we started looking at putting a septage receiving facility, high strength waste receiving facility, and increasing our biogas along, so we don't have to spend as much on natural gas, and also the tipping fees for that to help pay for the project. Yeah, but they kind of morph into each other because if we're going to be taking that extra septage, yeah, and we're going to need a lot more storage. I'm going off more of the revenue that Ishpeming has takes in every year. They're taking all the septage they can take, and they're taking more than they want. The rest of the septage is getting hauled out of here. They'll haul it all the way to Munising if they have to. And Ishpeming takes in like $180,000 a year. So we think that we could take some of that revenue would become here, plus the other, basically all the septage haulers in the Marquette area would probably, instead of hauling it all the way up to Ishpeming, they're going to come here.
We're doing this primarily, well, one of the things is.
Yep.
The other thing is we're trying to make this gas engine.
Yep. Right.
I have never seen. Here's what revenue's gonna be, here's the additional cost, selling everywhere.
Yep.
Because of the septic. We need, I'd like to see at least very much process, at least evaluate that.
Yeah.
Instead of lumping it together.
To break it down more.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have,
to come up with estimates for facilities.
and I think that information is already there in the study. It's just maybe not broken down. Like you like to see it. Okay. Okay. I'll talk to them. I talked to them this morning, and I'll talk to them again about that. Right.
I've never seen a number that show that.
Okay.
And I guess.
And I can probably have Donahue zoom in to the next meeting. Craig and Alan. That would be a good idea to have them. And then they'll be here to answer any questions.
I'd like more
Okay.
Something that's, I guess, costly should be.
Okay.
What is the total request?
Our total request is $5,670,000 that we're looking to fund.
That's the whole part. South end.
The whole project. Yep, both. Yep, so the next step, like I said, would be, we'll come back next month. I can get that information that Harold would like for the board. And we'll have Donahue do a presentation. And the next step would be to go to part 1 application of the SRF program and get Donahue under contract to do the design. So that's all I have for that.
Well, it wasn't necessarily bad news, but obviously if that 5% principal forgiveness goes up, that's great.
Right.
All right. New business flow meter calibration.
Yeah, every year we include this in the packet. It's just the report on our contractor coming up and calibrating all 3 flow meters that are required as our part of our agreement.
Hey, Mark, do we have to use the same person, all 3 of us, or can we hire somebody differently?
I believe you could probably hire someone differently as long as they're qualified.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Are you having issues with Todd?
Well, he's expensive for us. Crane Engineering can do it a lot cheaper than what he can do it. I did some checking around, and Crane can be a lot cheaper than what Todd's doing it for.
I wouldn't be opposed to having Crane do your meter.
Okay.
And they're qualified.
I might look at doing that next year.
Okay.
That might be a good test for all of us too. I mean, if their service is good, maybe we all consider it. You know, I think we here at the township like to use Todd because we know that the quality of his work is exceptional, you know?
Yep.
And
That's our experience here at the plant also.
with that comes a cost, of course. And, you know, if there is a lower cost option out there that saves us all some money, as long as the service meets our expectations, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't consider it also.
Okay.
So you being the guinea pig isn't necessarily going to be opposed by me.
Yeah, I'll try it out. I gotta start somewhere, right?
Brad, what is the cost to you?
Harold wanted to know what the cost was to Chocolate Township for your meter.
It was I don't remember off the top of my head. It was a couple $100 though. And Crane can do. I talked to him about doing all 8 of my stations next year, and he said he can do it for about $1,000.
We Todd does a lot more than just our flow meter here, obviously at the plant. He's also, if we're having technical difficulties, he's pretty good about calling up and helping us through those. So we've been really pleased with his service. He's been here for many years.
Same thing here in Marquette Township. When he did the flow meter test, he also calibrated all of our PRVs on our water system. So there's more reasons than just the flow meter. But in your case, you don't have those other ancillary issues going on. If you have one master flow meter and 8 lift station flow meters, maybe it makes sense.
Yeah.
When are your new stations going in, Brad?
They're going to start the week after, let's see here, the week of the 14th, they're going to start putting them in.
Who's actually putting them in? Is Crane going to do the work?
Yeah, Overstar's doing, is the general, and then Crane's a sub for them.
Okay, got it.
So Crane is supplying the lift stations, and they're all going to be similar to the 3 that went in on 28 last year.
Yep.
Or the year before, whenever that
And those
was.
those are the same ones we have in the city here too, so.
Yeah, they're a little bit bigger. They're gonna be all walk-in enclosures.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, pretty much the same thing.
You're spoiling your operators.
All
I'm
right.
wondering what their ratepayers are gonna think about that.
Guys need to be taken care of.
Don't tell my guys that. I'll just blame it on Kurt.
There you go.
All right, that was it for the meters.
All right, Mickey, you're up.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the report from Eagle, which was published in June of 2020, it's specific for looking for PFAS in municipal wastewater and associated residuals, including sludge and biosolids in Michigan. A few minutes ago, Harold asked a question, who's died from PFAS? And I thought that was a really good question, so I typed it into my computer here. And they're looking, believe it or not, they're looking at factors that make people more susceptible to the COVID virus. And one of them is exposure to environmental hazards, and PFAS was listed in the list of things that people have been exposed to that they believe might make them more susceptible to the virus. So that's the short answer to your question. This study is specific for a lot of what I hear every month. Wastewater, influent, effluent, and also what's in the biosolids. And the fact that if the amount of PFAS in the biosolids exceeds a certain level, it can't go onto a farmer's field. And I just heard that we don't have tank storage good enough for everything we have every spring. So I appreciate the challenge to say, why does this affect us behind the fence? But this study by Eagle goes even beyond Michigan. It's very good for Michigan. And it does mention K.I. Sawyer has reduced its contaminants. It doesn't mention the 2 tanks at Sawyer that are full of PFAS contaminated materials. They're getting an engineering study on to get rid of, but it does compare PFAS globally. They've got a report on page 15, the first time I've seen global results. And unfortunately, the only place in the world that has less PFAS is Kenya. The US is high, Eagle, and there's another study. Switzerland is high and Australia is high. So the short summary is that if I could ask what was our involvement in this sending samples, because we're not listed here as having a problem.
No, we were below the limit. It was detected in our influent.
Okay.
And it was detected in our effluent. And also, we did test the biosolids and it was detected in the biosolids. But it was all at levels they consider, actually I just pulled up the email. Our effluent was 10.7 nanograms per liter. Influent was 10.3 nanograms per liter. Nanograms, I think it is trillion. Biosolids cake, we had a reading of 43 nanograms per gram. So that was the only time we've been tested. I can see in the future, this stuff is going to start getting put into permits. It's just starting to be required now for drinking water. We have been testing for it in the city of Marquette, and it's never been detected. They're all been non-detect, so that's a good thing. But we're at the mercy. Yeah, we're at the mercy of whatever somebody out in the collection system puts down the drain. If it's PFAS related, you know, it's going to come down here and it's going to be here. One thing we have done is when this whole thing started, we were approached by a landfill in Munising that wanted to bring us some leachate. And we asked them to test for PFAS. We weren't going to take it unless they tested for it, which they refused to do. So needless to say, we will not be taking any leachate from any landfills unless we get that PFAS test.
And I found this to be an incredibly thorough examination of multiple site locations, and that there was a pattern in it of where you had industrial contamination that was ongoing. You were finding it in the wastewater and in the biosolids. And as usual, there's only 2 spots they're looking for in the Upper Peninsula. It's Sawyer and one other location. And as long as there's only 2 spots, then we can reassure the public that we're watching for it and there's no problem. But if you, like you say, if we get a rogue dumper, and I'm thinking of a rogue food truck, I don't know why. But if we get that and it spikes, then we have to be ready to explain to the public why we haven't been seeing it before and then it spiked.
Right.
Because what I'm seeing in the news, and I read this just about every night, is as more and more people start looking for it, more and more people are starting to dump it where they hope it can't be found. And it's like that, you know, the tires go into the woods. A lot of other things are going in different locations. And so that is, I think I've done my 5 minutes, no more. In the future, John, everything I have on PFAS will go to you a week in advance of the meeting, and you can decide if we discuss it at this meeting. This particular
great.
one was just to be on point. Okay?
I would just say if you send it to my attention and copy Pam or Mark on it, we'll make sure, as long as we all agree that it pertains to the content of this meeting, we will add it as an agenda item.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey.
Thanks for listening.
We are on to public comment. We've got 11 minutes left before Gary and I have our next obligations. I don't see anyone from the public on. Was there a way for public to submit email comments or anything like that? I know we don't normally get public at our meetings, but.
Yeah, all that information was on the PSA, which is up there, so.
Yeah, that information was in the PSA, so if there was public, they did have the means of
Yep.
getting into the meeting. I don't know if
Okay.
Randy's got anything.
No, I didn't, and I did see your PSA, Mark. The emails would go to you, and if you didn't get any, then there's.
Okay, yeah, I did not get any emails.
Okay, let's do one last trip around the table, board comment. Brad?
Yeah, I would just make a suggestion. If you guys are going to continue meeting like that at the wastewater plant, can you try to get a better microphone? Because it was Harold's questions, I didn't hear any of them.
Likewise.
Pam, I don't know, I think she just said something not too long ago. I didn't hear what she said. Mickey was in and out. I heard fine, but if IT there has a better microphone that you can put in the middle of the table or something, I don't know. Just a thought,
Yeah,
suggestion.
we'll do some research. We'll fix that before next meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Gary?
Mark, there's a microphone you can get for the table, so.
Okay. All right, thanks, Randy.
Gary, any comments?
Thank you. No, I'm good. Thanks.
Appreciate your efforts on the budget again. Mickey?
My compliments to Mark surviving his first budget review session with the city commission. Fortunately, he had his biosolids in a row, for want of a better phrase. And the commissioners, they did focus in on that pump. They did focus in on that pump you were renting, and if it was going to be a certain thing or you're going to have to buy it. So they are reading the reports, but the credibility of the department, the credibility of the information he was providing was well respected. And I've noticed that some of the other department heads have a lot more questions about where the data is coming from, whereas Mark, they kind of took him at, yeah, this is where the data is coming from. So that was good to hear. And just in case you thought you were speaking alone in a vacuum, I was paying attention. I do all the budget sessions. So
Thank you.
the wastewater plant was well represented at the budget sessions.
Harold, any comments?
No comments.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Hey, I do have one more, please. Mark or Dan, can one of you guys get me Dan's contact information so I can have that?
Yeah, I saw that email just before we started, Brad. We'll get that to you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
You might as well send it to me and Lenny, too.
Okay, sounds good.
And
Thanks.
John, can I get Lenny's?
Yep, we'll get that to you.
Thank you.
He will likely be the superintendent, well, not officially, but until like the 28th or something like that, but he will likely be functioning in the role as early as next Monday.
Okay, can you bring him to the next meeting too, so we are have him
Yep.
sit in, so we meet him?
Yep, he was going to be at this one, but he's off today and tomorrow, so.
Okay, we'll approve that.
Not sure.
Hey, Mark. Mark,
Yes.
tell Lyle that his cooler made it here.
Okay. We'll be down to get it. Thank you, Randy. And thanks again for doing the Zoom meeting, Randy. Really
No
appreciate it.
problem. Yeah, no problem.
All right, did I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Brad.
To adjourn.
We have a motion by Brad, support by Mickey. Is that correct? All in favor, say aye.
Hey.
I think that's as good as a roll call. Anyone opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good meeting.
Have a good day.